I'll read through it. So Ehab mentioned earlier that having a first-party company-hosted community is better than a third-party community. However, from a branding community perspective, many SaaS companies have moved away from first-party branded communities as a community is bigger than the company and its products. Can you comment on the role of each and where you think CS teams should invest more in?
It's a very, very good question. Again, the community could be looked at in many ways because you need staff to monitor, which means it's going to be a cost to you. The reason I would say at first, you open the community, you stay in control versus a third party, again, depending on your solution, then that community is out of sight and you want someone to be in there to support it because you want to make sure that a customer stays a customer or viewers. So each situation is different. However, investing in customer community depends where you're at with your capabilities within the company and your maturity level from a staff, CS staff.
Right.
Where are you at in that maturity level? Are you just starting the team? Do you have enough team members to monitor it? It's a full-time job to monitor a community. It's not an easy task. You need a full-time job because what I've noticed successful communities is that they can open a support case within that community. And this way you can track it because everybody logs into community. You know who they are. You know their account. You know their current spend, their annual revenue, recruiting revenue. So you know all this value about them. So that's why you want to have an eye listening to what's going on in the communities. I mean, if it makes sense to your business, great. If it doesn't, it's not always highly recommended, but it's another channel to listen and support your customer because you can post the small video tips, the knowledge article,
right.
the new releases. So that's where you can leverage that community. It's a controlled community because you already know who's logged in. It's not a public community where you don't want to share certain knowledge so your competitors doesn't take it.
Right. And I think it's important too to think, right, that, you know, if we think about how do we even get this off the ground and like what does a community strategy look like in the context of my organization? And I think you mentioned that I think it's important to say, you know, if you look out there at customer success communities or product communities across the board, you might find some that are their intent is to be more of a center of excellence or knowledge center for a particular topic or their topic, right? So let's use like Smartsheet as an example. If they had a customer community, it might be around project, they might focus on project management best practices and things that are kind of in the periphery of their product, but that doesn't have to be the solution for everyone, right? I think that companies need to realize just the interactivity, the connection, the ability to track who's in and out, to log cases. It could be a really simple means of just communicating on new features and allowing folks to interact on you know, very spot solutions. So it doesn't have to be a full blown, you know, we're not trying to become some new blog and community here. It could be very pointed solutions that could be easier to get off the ground is what I'm suggesting.
I totally agree with that. And that's why I think it's very important to be very careful if you're going to go community. I'm not an advocate of community like you, Chandler. I would say if you're going to open a community, make it more driven to knowledge and best usage of your product and help with adoption and how to be successful in your product. Yesterday, I was sent a link from, I don't want to advertise to them, DocuSign, and I went there and I was amazed with that portal they have without logging in, open to public. It has all the different video clips, how to use features. It has all the webinars in there. It has by technology, by feature. But I think it was amazing to see something like this. Something like this would be better for your customers to get value out of the community. Because if somebody in the community tells something wrong to another customer of yours, you're at risk. So that's why community customers talking to each other is not optimal unless you're 100% monitoring that conversation, which is again an expense center. So
absolutely, I think that's a great point. Yeah, and I think from my perspective too, what I like to think about, I guess if I were sitting in a RevOps leader position, right, I think I'd like to see the future vision of what could be and understand, the reality, to your point, of what the investment looks like in that, but then to identify some of the features that we like in those, and to draw that into your immediate solution, right? So be it the ability to chat, or some features that can help you, build a strategy towards that point when you're mature enough to get there. But to your point, there's simple ways, and at the end of the day, the takeaway here is just to listen to the customer, right? Find the means of hearing from them.
Yeah, you want to listen to them before you lose them. Yeah. Exactly.
So we've got another question here that came from the audience, so thank you for posting. And I actually love this question, because I think it's important to kind of draw us out of this a little bit. So the question is, how do you look at CLTV in the context of a non-SaaS business? So I'll put it differently: is customer lifetime value important to non-traditional subscription-based products or organizations?
Absolutely. I mean, that exactly. It's part of, even if it's not a SaaS, you want to figure out what is the lifetime value of this customer. They've been with us for 5 years. They spend with us 100,000. They've been with us for 5 years. They spend with us $10 million, right? And they continue buying whatever it is we're selling. So that would be a way to look at it outside of SaaS. SaaS is based on renewals. And I don't like this product. I have competitors that I can use. I can jump ships anytime. That's why SaaS is more sensitive and very competitive, because there's always another company out there selling your solution probably cheaper just to compete with you.
Right.
So if it's not SaaS, you always want to evaluate the customer lifetime value, and because it's part of your overall business.